from what I know, Fletcher Cox a pretty squared away dude.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, that's what his reputation is in the league.
And it sounds like you're in the locker room, right?
I did see the video. It was like a media scrum outside.
And so I don't know if that was the first or second dude. So typically how it works, right? Guys or reporters are walking around, right, hitting at different people, especially on the way out of the building. Sometimes guys like Fletcher, right, you'll have multiple people around you.
Yes.
And so it would be interesting to see, did he get hit up like 4 or 5 different times individually, and this dude was just the last cat, and so you about to get, I'm tired of asking this question.
Right.
So you a clown, or, this is even worse,
So
if it's
breaking this down. This is so good.
10 people around me, right, every reporter thinks they're the smartest person in the room, so let me ask him this way. Let me ask him that way. Let me ask him this way.
Yep.
The first clip I heard sound very clear that he loves his head coach and is not going to discuss it because he has a family. Oh, let me ask, hey, I have a follow-up. Well, you don't think he's going to get fired? Nah, man, I just told you what I told you.
I'm going to trick you into breaking news.
You a clown, man. Don't be a clown. You just heard my answer. It's not going to change. Don't ask me again. That's my biggest pet. If you ask me something and I tell you, believe me, especially that direct.
There's also the possibility, because it is Philadelphia, I don't know anything about the guy.
That too.
The guy might actually just be a clown from the last 3 years, and Fletcher Cox might have been waiting.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's the third option too, which that may sound right too.
Do we have any more Fletcher Cox?
No, unfortunately, those are the only Fletcher Cox fans.
I could listen to that all day, man.
Let's see what else. No other audio I'm going to play is going to top Fletcher Cox calling somebody a clown. Here's Ian Rappaport on Bill Belichick.
Things are heating up for Bill Belichick and the Atlanta Falcons. Sources tell me that Belichick and the Falcons are expected to meet this weekend for a second interview. You mentioned it. Arthur Blank and Bill Belichick met earlier in this week. That was a one-on-one meeting. Now several other members of the essentially executive search committee are going to take part. Terry Fontenot, the general manager, Rich McKay, the CEO. Both of them will be present for this meeting. And obviously there is some interest from Bill Belichick's side and from the Atlanta Falcons side. This really makes sense. This is a ready-made roster. Give them a quarterback. Should be one of the better teams in the NFL, at least one of the teams competing for a playoff spot. You add the greatest coach in the history of the game. Surely that would make sense. And I think it's fair to say that some of the assistants who in the past have worked with Bill Belichick were doing some research, some background work on Atlanta. I'm sure both sides have been looking into the other. This one makes sense. The Falcons are certainly not done interviewing, but I think it's safe to say this one's heating up a little bit.
So he just casually threw in there, just give him a quarterback. I was looking at the list of quarterbacks that are available. It's not like there's a lot of great quarterbacks just hanging out on the free agent wire this offseason. But quarterback aside for a second, Zoe, what do you think about Atlanta's roster just in general, if you're Bill Belichick and you're looking for a talented team?
I mean, I think they have pieces. I would have to go and study their roster. I mean, offensively, they have pieces there, right? You have a stud tight end, a stud running back, and so things that you can build around there. Defensively, I'd have to kind of get into it a little deeper. But Bill Belichick is known for taking average guys and putting them out there in places that's going to show their strengths and do well. I mean, that's just what he's known for with the Patriots. A ton of guys that were really good players. Nobody ever really – and he had a couple – all pros, but majority just take really good football players. You love football, Bill Belichick will make you look good on defense and get you paid and do your thing. But again, it always comes back to that quarterback, because at the end of the day, you want to win. And he has to have someone back there that is at least going to be able to manage the job, lead these guys, and not turn the ball over and make just stupid mistakes.
It's one of the things, their defense for the most part was a top 10 defense in the league. That's pretty good, right?
Even
there.
this past season, Atlantis was? Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
in terms of actually saying yards allowed per game and yards allowed per play, once again, it's not the end-all, be-all. Not saying they have great players. I remember looking at their guys on the defensive side of the ball, and Calais Campbell is still there. Yeah, and Calais, of course, if ever there was a under-the-radar guy who just went out and did his job, right? That's what he does. And I think that entire defense has a bunch of pros on that side of the ball, and they went out collectively and played much better than maybe their talent level even said.
Can you be under the radar when you're like 6'8" and 300 pounds, or however big he is?
When I say that, I think at this point of his career, that's what I say. He's not the guy from 7 years ago, 5 years ago, however it may be. Calais, to me, is one of the best, as we all know. A guy that got his job done, and not only that, went out there and dominated games at one point in his career.
So do you find it weird at all that now we're 2 weeks away from the end of the regular season and there's still 7 teams looking for coaches, or is it as simple as let's see where Belichick goes and stuff's going to start to fall in place?
Yeah, a lot of that stuff waiting, right? Do we have a chance at X dude? Is there a guy on one of these teams that are still playing, right? Coordinators, whether it's offensive, defensive guy, whether is there a linebacker coach, who knows, whoever it may be that we want to interview and be able to get in here, but hasn't been able to because they're still playing. So there's a lot of things, and there's a ton of time still for teams to be able to do this. It's not like I think people can just get impatient, like, I got to have a coach, Not necessarily. Just take your time. You want to make sure that you make the right decision and not just pick from a group of people that you don't feel really strongly about.
What did you think when you heard the news that Kliff Kingsbury was interviewing for the offensive coordinator job with the Bears?
So my first thing was like, what? Why? But then you sit back and say, okay, maybe it's just an information grab. And I know you guys talked about this ad nauseum because there's no way he should be in the flow or in the nomination of being a head coach this quickly, that fast, when he went to USC.
Yeah, but it was OC. He was going to be an OC for Chicago.
Even this, or I mean OC.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe position coach.
It's just not
a coordinator or head coach position this quick, this fast, especially when you go from the Cardinals, which we understand what happened there, and then you go to SC, and you have, before the season started, the top prospect in the country as far as he's the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
And throughout that season, you even shifted like, I don't know, right?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Right? So
I
I think a lot of people have shifted off of him, and Kliff is a part of that. Whatever happened may not be Kliff's fault, but he's in that environment.
But you didn't take him to another level.
Right.
Yeah.
So he got worse once Kliff stepped in the picture, and that's just a broad brush outside in. So it's not like, oh, well, man, he got so much better. Let me come and have him be my OC now and run our offense because he has a relationship. We saw how that worked here. The relationship piece doesn't necessarily matter within the context of, what's our coach-player relationship, and can I impact you in a way where you're going to play better than you have been with me as your coach?
Yeah.
So I think it's more of the latter of an information grab. Let me really dive in. Who is this guy? Because we got to see a lot of, like what you talked about, some of the emotional stuff that I'm not quite sure about. Do we want that in the building? Who is this dude as a person, and who better than a guy that was with him every single day for the last, 6 months?
I think Matt Eberflus, being the coach that he is, the man that he is, a defensive-minded head coach, I think he'd be the best thing for Kliff. I really do. If Kliff Kingsbury ever is going to be a head coach once again, because Matt Eberflus is Jonathan Gannon for the most part, mentality-wise.
Right.
He's all about the physicality of the game. He's all about that.
Just not OC. He can come in and be a position coach, but there's no way, right, if we talk about a meritocracy, which I know you live on, right, that you go from getting fired, going to a place, and you don't have great success, because SC was also talked about, and then you get elevated right back to OC in the NFL? Nah.
It would be surprising.
I mean, you could be our quarterback coach and come work with the guy, but to be controlling that much, that's my only thing about it, right?
Yeah.
And not that he can't ever be back there. We just need a little bit more time to see you develop and become that guy before you get that type of platform again so quickly.
Yeah, that's fair.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.